Hi, so I just really want to make this video from like a human space. This is something I've been really meaning to say, and I'm so glad that I can finally articulate it to you guys. So I'm Somali. I grew up in Minnetonka. I've been raised here my entire life. I am born here and I've lived here. I've studied here. I'm a pre-med. I do research, and that's usually the type of stuff I talk about on my page. But right now I feel like it's really important for me to say this. What I'm going to say is that I have been getting so many messages telling me to go back to your country, go back to your country. But the reality of the situation is the United States is the only country I've ever known my entire life. And the thing is, the great irony of it all is I'm not the ambassador of Somalia. I don't speak for Somali people. I'm not a spokesperson for this community. I'm just one young person trying to study, navigate life, and live like any other 20-something-year-old living here in this state. And so something that I feel like is going on is that there's a lot of immigrant people and first-gen, second-gen kids like me, with this weight on our shoulders, trying to explain everything going on in our communities, trying to defend our communities. But I'm really no different from any other 20-something-year-old trying to make it here in this state, in this country, in this world. And so I'm sharing this because I really feel like a lot of us are being treated this way and dealing with this quietly. But the reality is we aren't symbols. We aren't some type of ambassador. We are just human beings like everybody else.
What's up, family? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a conversation that has shaken up timelines, podcasts, and comment sections across America, where we are talking about immigration, Somali identity, and the complicated tension between Black immigrants and Black Americans. And I'll say this from the start: this is not an attack piece. This is a reality check. A chance for us to talk honestly about something everyone feels but almost nobody wants to touch.
Across this app, I keep seeing people ask Black Americans, what have immigrants ever done to you? So here's the truth, because we are not going to keep pretending immigrants are automatically innocent just because supremacy is the bigger villain. Yes, immigration has caused harm to the Black American community. Not every immigrant, not only immigrant, and not always with intent, but measurable harm has happened. Economically, many employers have chosen immigrant labor at lower wages instead of hiring Black workers at fair wages. That choice has reduced opportunities for Black workers in the job sectors where we have historically been concentrated. That is a harm. Politically, as immigrant populations grew, major parties shifted their promises, their attention, and resources toward new voting blocs. The Black agenda has been repeatedly deprioritized as politicians calculate numbers rather than loyalty. That is harm. Culturally, Black American creativity has been used globally as a resource, while Black Americans are erased as origin. At the same time, many immigrants adopt negative stereotypes about Black Americans when they arrive because they learn quickly that distancing from us provides social benefits in this system. That is a harm. Geographically, the pattern is the same across multiple cities. Long-standing Black neighborhoods lost their population share and cultural control as new communities with greater economic leverage moved in. Gentrification and repopulation, and both resulted in Black displacement. That is a harm. Socially, immigrants did not enter a neutral landscape. They entered a country with an existing racial order that rewards those who rise above Black Americans, whether conscious or not. Many participated in that reward structure. That is a harm. And the only reason this conversation is treated like a taboo is because Black Americans are allowed to blame supremacy, but not allowed to acknowledge lateral harm from anyone else. We are allowed to hurt. We are just not allowed to name who contributed to the harm unless the answer is people. That is not hate. That is not xenophobia. That is not jealousy. It is displacement layered on top of sacrifice. Black Americans built what we built under terror and brutality, and everyone else arrived and benefited from that foundation. And when we say protect our share, protect our identity, protect our cultural space, we are told we do not get to decide. That is a harm. No one is asking immigrants to leave this country. Well, some people are, but I'm not. Not all of us are. No one is asking immigrants to undo history or carry guilt for what they didn't personally do. What is being asked and has always been asked is simple. Acknowledge the part you play in continuing the harm, whether you meant to or not. This has always been about accountability and acknowledgement. If accountability feels like an attack, ask yourself why you're willing to abandon being the harmed class in your own country just to become part of the system that harms us in this one.
This whole debate started when a young American woman born here in the United States, raised here, said she's tired of people telling her, go back to your country. She said, I'm not a political ambassador. I'm not responsible for my community immigration decisions. I am just a person, and the pain in that message is real. Because imagine growing up in the only country you've ever known and still being treated like a visitor. Immigrant kids, whether Somali, Haitians, Nigerians, Caribbeans, they constantly feel this pressure to represent their entire community. They can't just be individuals. They have to be perfect. They have to make every elder proud. And then on top of all that stress, they are told they don't belong. That hurts. That's a wound that follows you. But that's just one side of the story, because after she shared her frustration, commentator fired back saying something harsh. He called her collateral damage. He said immigration policies weren't created for her emotionally. They were created for the American government to bring in new population. And he argued that U.S. Resources should prioritize native-born citizens, especially Black Americans who've been here for generations. As cold as that sounds, a lot of people, especially Black Americans with deep roots, feel like their struggles, their ancestors, and their political needs are being pushed aside to make room for immigrants' agenda. So now we have two truths that collide: one person's pain and another community long-standing frustration. Let's push deeper. Some Black American scholars and activists argue that immigration has caused real measurable harm to the Black American communities. These aren't opinions, they are documented issues. The first is wage suppression, where large group of low-wage workers enter the workforce. It can depress wage for Black Americans already struggling at the bottom of the economy. So while American gains new workers, some Black families lose financial stabilities. Then there is political displacement as immigrants group grow, politicians shifts their focus. The Black agenda, reparation, police reform, housing justice, generational wealth suddenly becomes diluted under labels like minorities and people of color. Black Americans feel drowned out. The fight for rights, their ancestors died for, becomes mixed with every other group issues. It feels like their specific struggle, their historical wounds, is being ignored while newcomers benefit from the civil rights groundwork they never had to fight for. And then we have the cultural tension. Some Africans and Caribbean immigrants come into this country already carrying stereotype about Black Americans, stereotype taught overseas. Meanwhile, some Black Americans see immigrants as people who get opportunities, job, resources fast than they do, and who don't always acknowledge the cost of the freedom they arrived to enjoy. All of that creates misunderstanding, walls, and distance. But here is the truth. No one admits publicly Black Americans and Black immigrants are not enemies. They are two groups trying to survive. Instead, the same racial system, but from very different starting points. Somali Americans fleeing war come here looking for safety. Black Americans born here never immigrated. They were the labor the system was built on. One group comes with hope and possibilities. The other group lives with historical exhaustion and generational trauma. That difference among created tension not out of hate but out of different lived realities. Immigrant communities often see America as opportunity. Black Americans often see America as unfinished business, a country that still owes them something. When you put these two worldviews in one place, competition and resentment can form. And the system loves that because when two groups argue with each other, they forget who actually built the system. They are both trying to survive. So, what do we do? First, nobody should ever tell a US born Somali kid to go back. That's ignorant and lazy. Second, we can't ignore the legitimate frustration of Black Americans who feel that immigration has redirected national attention away from their unfinished fight for equality. Both groups have pain, both groups have trauma, both groups have stories that matters. The real enemy isn't Somali Americans. The real enemy isn't Black Americans. The issue is a country that constantly forces marginalized people to compete for resources, attention, and dignity. It's a system designed to divide people who should be allies. So, maybe the first step is honesty, not pretending our experiences are the same, not forcing anyone to pick a side, not reducing each other's pain, but understanding that all of us, whether African American or Somali American, are trying to exist in a country that wasn't built to support their group fully. And the moment we stop letting that system use us against each other, everything changes. If you made it this far, Joy's family, let me know what you think. What are your thoughts about this in the comment section? Has immigration helped, hurt, or complicated the Black experience in America? Let's talk about it respectfully, honestly, and with understanding. I'll see you in the next one. Stay blessed, stay grounded, and above all, stay in peace. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to the channel for more updates like this. See you on the next one.